Today
we'll be
Teddy
talking
Abraham
reads 1-to-1.
Today Teddy reads the Bible, cover to cover.
Let's start by thanking our Lord and Savior. Thank you, everyone.
Cover to cover.
Thank you, Jesus.
Can't wait till you get
Join us today for our daily scripture.
Oh boy, Teddy, what's up, man?
Hey, Alex. I'm happy to be here, a guest on the Hey Geeks and Gamers podcast. Episode 2.
Hey, that's my line. Welcome everybody to the Hey Geeks. Yes, I'll take it back. Here, toss it my way. Oh, thank you. Thanks. All right, welcome everybody to the Hey Geeks and Gamers Podcast, the official podcast for Turbo Zone. I'm your host Alex, joined today by Teddy of Majora T. In episode 2, this was originally supposed to be episode 3, but I had some recording snafus for episode 2. So now they're flipped. So now the guest that I had on for the original episode 2 is going to be on for episode 3. Great. So since this was the supposed to be the third episode, I had some different stuff planned, and we're still going to do that today. But I just wanted to tell the viewers that the episode from last time with Brian, the first episode, that episode is like the format that I'm rolling with for the most part. Today we have a special thing we're going to do. So, you know, if you're expecting that every time, don't. It's just this episode. But before we get into anything, you know, if you've been around the Turbo Zone, you should be more than familiar with Teddy. He's got the channel Majora T. He was my original collaborator here on Turbo Zone. You know, and we have the Button Mapper podcast over with Spencer, and you know, we do that weekly. So me and Teddy being on a podcast together is nothing new.
But always exciting.
Always. You know, we over on his channel right now, we're still doing the Turbo Throwdown series too. So if you want to hear us argue about Genesis games or some stuff, I don't think we really argue, but it's fun to frame it that way. If you want to hear us argue about Genesis games, head on over. There's a playlist on my channel. So, Teddy, welcome to the show, man.
Great to be here. I just want to say thank you, Alex, for having me. I know, you know, it's you didn't want to replicate the button mappers, but I don't think that is, you know, what's going to happen today. It's going to be a Turbo Zone special.
If anything, the button mappers replicated us because we've been collaborating way before that, you know. So yeah, you know, the button mappers was born out of our collaborations.
When you think back to our first collaborations, what's the first one you think of? Doesn't have to be the first one, but the first one that comes to mind. The first
one, easily it was Title Legends 2.
Okay.
Yeah, that's because like I know we did stuff before that, but I don't really remember the recording process for those. Like I know the episodes, and I've gone back to listen to it. Like we did like the DK Country, and I don't know what else we did at that point. Maybe like Mario Galaxy or something. But Title Legends 2 is the first time I remember like actually the process of creating that one. For good and bad reasons, and this is the first time I've ever probably talked about this on any sort of recording. But at that time, I was going through a really messy breakup, and the night we I don't think I ever told you this either. The night we recorded Title Legends 2, I was in Minnesota, and the day after we recorded Title Legends 2, I had to drive all the way back to Kentucky because being the girl I was with broke up. So,
damn.
But that doesn't sour my opinion of the video or like how my experience, because like I was going through it, and that was like that was something that helped me, was like our recording of Title Legends 2. So I think that's why that really stands out to me.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, because like like here I am.
I vaguely remember. Yeah.
I think you knew I was going through a breakup or something, but I don't think you understood.
Right.
I don't think I told you at the time how bad the situation was. Like,
right.
Like at that time, I going to Minnesota, I had a U-Haul where I moved because I planned to stay there. Coming back, I didn't have the money to get a U-Haul, so whatever I couldn't fit in my car, I had to sell. So I sold like $700 worth of games and stuff that day.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it was messy, but but the Title Legends 2 recording definitely helped me during that time, because I get to make this funny ass video with you, talking about dumb Taito games. So
yeah, something positive came out of it, so that's good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's good. What about you? What's your memory, like your first memory of a collaboration?
Collaborations, I think I just go back to that time we were playing pure chess and talking about CGR. To me, that one is kind of like a birth of like, or like just commentary style over just anything and things that we love. Like we always talk about CGR, but like, something about doing that over PSN was fun.
I think that's one of the first instances of us just fucking around too. It's like, like a little bit. Yeah, because like I think everything up to that point we would go into it with like, okay, this is our goal for the video. Like our goal is to review Donkey Kong. Our goal is to review a thing. Our goal is to talk about this topic. But with that one, our goal was to like play chess and talk about classic game room or something, and then like it was it was stupid. It was a stupid concept.
It was really dumb, but it was fun. It's a decent listen if you go back to
it. Like that element almost feels like it's in some way as like the Prometheus of the button mappers, because it's like the stupid concept wrapped around this idea of like, and that's how I feel like a lot of button mappers are. Like we'll start an episode and it's like, okay, well the episode's about nuts and bolts, but we'll spend 15 minutes talking about Burger King or something beforehand. So yeah, and that's just because we like to fuck around.
That's our branding. The button mappers fucking around.
fuck around and find out,
Fuck around, find out, boys. We fucked around and we found out.
Yeah. What did you think of? What did you think of the structure for the first episode? I'm just curious.
It's cool. I heard through the grapevine that I'm an inspiration or something.
Mm-hmm.
So. Pat, like, I don't know, pat on the back, I guess. No, but I really liked it. I thought it was very creative. I think I texted you immediately after. I was like, dude, you can't one up this. What the hell, man?
Yeah, I had been ruminating on how the hell I would even approach a podcast, and but I really liked the way you did because like my issue is like I don't want to make it just a button mappers, but I respect the way you do your podcasts and the way you have guests on for your stuff. And I don't need another thing talking about myself. I do that enough already. Because I have a whole fucking show. I have another smaller podcast with the games that shape me and oral history, where I talk about myself. Because I was like, how can I do this and be creative and not be the button mappers and also not be Teddy? So.
No, it's very intelligent. It's very well thought out. Much more so than mine. Mine, I really rely on my guests to, have something to say.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'll plan my segment accordingly, but I also kind of want the guests to, to lead their own segment, too. Something that I think is unique to mine is that you can you have the floor to just bring whatever you want, but that is risky. Whereas yours, it's like, you have all these different segments in control. It's nice to see Brian get kind of surprised by some of them. I anticipate being surprised by some of them today, even the ones I'm aware of. So, it's kind of cool.
I'm really sad. Hopefully I can salvage it and use the audio for it and still include it next episode. But the episode I recorded with the guest that I was going to have for episode 2, I had a really funny segment that sadly, even if I bring them on again, I can't replicate it. Like, I can't do it a second time. It was a one-time segment. And
Damn.
yeah, so hopefully I can still salvage the audio that I have from it and like include it in the next episode in some way, because like it's a really funny segment that I really liked. But it was just like, it was one of the segments that I was like, this guest can only do it, like this segment only works for this guest, and it only works this one time. And like that's kind of like where, like, what I want to do with this show is like, I want to tailor some of the segments like that, you know, to be like,
Right.
yeah, to be like, this is a segment only for this guest, and this is a segment that I may just do one time, which is going to be hell on Spencer because he makes the title cards for all these. So
Maybe I'll make that one.
yeah, but so we do have segments today. We are dropping our. I say dropping. I've only done it one time at this point, but I did it twice if I count the recording that was lost. But usually the first segment I would do is the news segment, the What's Up With That segment. We're dropping that today because you and I have some other things to talk about, and I feel like doing the news segment on top of that might drag on a little bit. So we're going to cut the news segment out today. So no news. Sorry, Teddy. I know you don't keep up with a lot of that stuff anyway. So,
In my opinion, is void.
I mean, the most I could have done is talked about like that direct we had, you know, and been like, yeah, been like, do you like Monkey Ball? You know, I don't know, but so we're not doing that. So I do have segments. The first one is going to be the unique segment for this episode, the segment that is tailor-made for me and Teddy today, and it's something that we both prepared for. This is the first and maybe only, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. We may revisit this later on down the road, but the first time in the Turbo... what's it called? Hey Geeks, I forget the name of the podcast. The Hey Geeks and Gamers history. That's pretty bad when I forget the name of my own podcast. The only time this is going to appear, unless we bring it back, this is a segment called Bookworms. This is a segment where Teddy and I are going to talk about something we have read lately. Hey, Alex, I hear you cry out from a distance. Yeah, what's up? I thought this was a video game podcast. What's the deal? What's the deal, man? Don't worry. There's still a whole show to go after the segment. We're gonna have other topics. You know, I'll even push one of them up that talks about video games. So we're still gonna talk about video games. That's still gonna be a part of the show. But Teddy is one of the things that I always liked about Teddy's content is that he tried to incorporate other things, and for a while you did book reviews, right? I think it was like on the secondary channel or something. So I kind of wanted to bring some of that into the podcast today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And you know, just because you're a gamer doesn't mean you can't be a geek. And so geeks read. Okay?
It's in the title. It's in the title. Yeah, it's in the title. I always say geeks and gamers. So if there's gamers, then what are the geeks?
Are the geeks.
So
we are the geeks.
So today we are going to talk about our books. I do ask that we don't go on too long with this segment. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't give it a time, but you know, we're just trying not to make it too long because we do have the whole rest of the podcast today too. So Teddy, you are the guest, so I'm going to ask you to go first.
Okay. Well, I will start this segment by saying there is nothing I can say that can do this book justice without you reading it. In fact, me speaking about it may do it injustice. So, Alex, unfortunately, I'm going to have to do you injustice by speaking about it in case you're interested in it. But I'll be as vague as possible for a while, and then when I'm going to get into what I think is like kind of the core spoiler territory, I'll let you know. And I'm not going to like reveal major details, but kind of like a major plot point. So the book I read is called Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. Haruki Murakami has been recommended to me many times as a Japanese fiction writer. His works get translated to my understanding, so we get translations of them. And I've tried numerous times to get into Murakami, but have had a very hard time. It started with Norwegian Wood, which was like a Beatles-style remix of like a domestic couple. And it was a decent book, but I got halfway through it. I'm not a big Beatles guy, so I just wasn't making the connections. And so I dropped it. The second one I tried an audiobook for, which was something about like clockwork or something. And it was very sexually derivative. And I just, listening to this guy with the British accent speaking about like wet dreams and shit, wasn't it? So I did not continue that. Kafka on the Shore is the first book that I've read by him where I'm like, this is a great book. This guy has a great writing style. He's got his plot points down. And it does lean into sexual nature, but we'll get into that. The core concept of the book is about a boy who leaves from home, 15 years old, runs away, hears a curse from his father or something. Not a curse word, but like a curse, a prophecy almost. And so he's just trying to like escape and identify himself. And alongside that narrative, you have two other stories that are going on. It's broken into, there's like 46 chapters. This book is like 465 pages. So each chapter is about 10 pages. The other two frameworks that you're going to see are one about a guy that talks to cats, and the other one about a woman who's a school teacher at a time where like World War II was going on, and then a bunch of kids just mysteriously go into a coma in the woods, and all of them wake up but one. And so you're trying to piece together, like, what is the connection between these three things? And it's really fascinating. I resonate with it, especially in the beginning of the book. Within 3 pages, he's given you a beautiful metaphor from the perspective of, like, another kid, a kid named Crow, who talks to the main 15-year-old boy and says, listen, you're going to have to go out of the world into the world. You're going to have to be the strongest boy ever in order to, you know, withstand what you're going to withstand. And I find myself reading this, and I'm getting, like, all these like life lessons. Like, life is like a sandstorm. You just have to go with the way that the wind blows, because otherwise you're going into the sand. Sometimes it's going to change directions and you're not going to have control over that. And it connects so beautifully to the storytelling. I may spoil things today, but it doesn't take away from the beautiful messages that come out of this book. I really love that. So now let me go into some of the more maybe like core ideas. And this is the part where I would say, if you're compelled, I would maybe skip ahead 5 minutes, starting now. The concept for this book is what I would call a remix / modern adaptation of the Oedipal complex. Are you familiar with the Oedipal complex?
Jesus, I used to love studying psychology, but it's been so long.
You know Oedipus, the story of Oedipus?
Fuck, man. I did.
DC, I got you. Second you hear it, you're gonna be like, oh yeah. A guy runs away from he's the slayer of the Sphinx, comes back to Thebes. On the way, he kills a man on the road. That man ends up being his father. He was the king of Thebes. He comes back telling them he's the hero, ends up marrying the queen. And he has kids with her, and the queen is actually his mother.
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah. That
he's so disgusted by what he's done, he blinds himself. So this is basically an Oedipal complex book in a sense. I hesitate to say directly, and you know, it's not one-to-one with it. But within the book, you're getting like the 15-year-old kid's kind of like sexual fantasies about the women he meets. And it is not one-to-one, but it is an adaptation. And it was very interesting to me, like, reading this, because, you know, I've read books that are more in like that talk about like sex and like attraction to women that I don't like. I read this guy Piers Anthony about he writes, like, if you go to the fantasy section of the library, he's got like 40 books. But I read one of them, it sucked. It literally was just like sexual fantasies. This is like writing about sexualization with a purpose. And sometimes it's very hard to identify that purpose. But I think the psychoanalysis of the character and kind of just like the quest to identify meaning is really significant. And the way that it overlaps with the guy who talks to cats, like that guy is like kind of the antithesis of that. He's kind of just an innocent nobody who's thinking in the present, and he just knows he cares about cats and something's wrong with them, and he tries to go on a journey to figure out, like, you know, his purpose as well, and it's connected to the boy in a sense. So I don't want to give away more than that, but what I really appreciate is that, you know, that Oedipal complex shit, like, nobody wants to talk about, no guy wants to think about that stuff. Oh, I could never love my mother, or so, you know, like, or my sister or whatever. But I think that the way he handles it is very mature, and think telling. Like I think it tells you a lot about maybe his interpretation of psychoanalysis and the classic Oedipal tale.
Okay.
So I'll leave it at that. I really love this book. I made it to the end and I still had questions, and to me that's a sign of a great book. I'm still thinking about it after I read it.
Quiz time. No, I was kidding. It's not really quiz time, but
Did you know?
did you know? No, I just wanted to ask you, like, like, what was your biggest takeaway from the entire book?
Yeah, I guess I would still be in spoiler territory here because like somebody else who reads this may have similar takeaways, and I don't want mine to influence yours. But not to waste your time on pointless thinking. What's worse than, and I'm butchering this quote. It was in the book, but it's like, pointless thinking is worse than no thinking at all. If you try and make sense of the nonsensical, you'll just end up hurting yourself in the long run. And that's just one takeaway. There are many takeaways. You know, I could see kind of like myself, even in that main character, kind of just like that like desire to just be as strong as possible so the pains of the world can't hurt you. But even no matter how much you do that, there is no running away from the truth.
Mm-hmm. It's true. That's true. I haven't read this. I haven't even heard of it, but it sounds fascinating.
Do you know Franz Kafka?
Yes, I do know Kafka.
I think that's why this stood out to me too. It's based on not necessarily Franz Kafka. There's like a song that is written in the book called like Kafka on the Shore, and the kid names himself Kafka. He gives himself a fake name because he's a runaway, and he doesn't want to be found by authorities. But I like Franz Kafka because he's also kind of like that metaphysical writer about the guy who, like, I don't know if you read Metamorphosis, but like the guy who wakes up and finds he's a cockroach or beetle or something, an oversized beetle. He's got to find his way back to his original body. So a lot of this philosophical kind of thinking that I really like. And I'll just give you the description on the back in case I kind of missed anything. Here we meet a teenage boy, Kafka Tamura, who is on the run, and Nakata, an aging simpleton who is drawn to Kafka for reasons he cannot fathom. As their paths converged, acclaimed author Haruki Murakami unfolds readers in a world where cats talk, fish fall from the sky, and spirits slip out of their bodies to make love or commit murder in what is a truly remarkable journey.
Nice. How many bookmarks do you give it?
Oh, I give it 5.
5
Out of
bookmarks.
5.
Okay, I didn't say out of what, so I was curious if you were gonna expand. Sounds cool though. Anything else? Or...
I don't know. Are you interested in reading it based on that description?
I am. I do like to read, but I'll be completely honest. A lot of the stuff I read is I read a few, and like today, the thing I read today isn't normally what I read either, but I read a few like autobiographies and stuff, but usually I'm a huge fan of horror, so I read a lot of horror books and a lot of stuff like that. Like I'm a huge Lovecraft fan, so like the idea of like cosmic horror and like, like we're like the speck in the universe, like that's always the stuff I like. So, but some of the concepts do sound interesting, so maybe.
Yeah, it's a psychological experience. So if you enjoy that kind of like,
I'm saying that sounds like it kind of goes hand in hand with that kind of like cosmic horror thinking in some sense. So
next time you go to the bookstore, just look at the Murakami section. You'll see it. You'll see that he's a renowned like author with a bunch of works. There's another book. He had one called Pinball/Wind, and I thought it would be about pinball, but I just didn't get far enough in it. But,
you were like, "Where's the pinball?"
I know. I'm a gamer. He wrote a book called Pinball. Where's the pinball? But the one at the back of the book that's also recommended is called IQ84, which I haven't read it, but it sounds like a spin on 1984. So I'm interested in reading that next.
Okay. Cool. All right. Anything else?
Alex, what did you read, Mr. Bookworm, sir?
What's up? So, I don't talk about books on this channel because it's a gaming channel. But I do like to read. Like I said before, I read a lot of horror, but I also like other things. Recently, you sent me a book that I was going to do today, but something else caught my interest. But I did want to bring it up because I did read about half of comedy drama, the Bob Odenkirk biography that you got me, which is really good, by the way. I'm a huge fan of Bob Odenkirk. But that's not what I'm talking about today. Recently I was having some mental health issues, and I was like, kind of looking for not guidance, but looking for like to hear somebody else's story. So today I actually am talking about a New York Times bestseller, so that's interesting. You've heard of this before? I know you have, and the audience might have already because it was everywhere for a little bit. But I read "I'm Glad My Mom Died" by Jeanette McCurdy. It's her.
Oh, I haven't heard of this.
Oh! You haven't heard of this? I'm glad my mom.
I think in passing.
Okay, well, I'm glad my mom died is Jeanette McCurdy's story. She tells her story from her childhood up to basically present, and okay, so Jeanette McCurdy, famous child star actor. You probably know her from the iCarly series on Nickelodeon. She's popular there, but she's been a child actor since she was like 6 or something, and she's been doing stuff, and she doesn't act anymore. She's just a writer now because she didn't want to act. The book is about, and I'm gonna try to talk about some of this without being insensitive and like making jokes about it because a lot of it is serious, but she also makes jokes about some of it herself looking back. But the book is about basically how her mom she had a very abusive mom, got her into child acting, which she didn't want to do. Basically because her mom always wanted to be an actor. She had to be an actor. Her mom was diagnosed with cancer, was a cancer survivor, and always used that guilt to like guilt her into things. She enabled her eating disorder. She basically trained her how to be anorexic, and later on she returned to be bulimic, which she talks about, from the first person and like that experience, and a lot of other manipulative tactics her mom would use throughout her life up until her mom passed away. Which after that she sort of had to learn to come to terms with the fact that her mom was abusive towards her because, her entire life she basically was like, my purpose is to make my mom happy, and she had to learn like that wasn't her purpose. And then on top of that, a bunch of other things happened outside of her mom that was also contributed to a lot of it. I'm sure, and the internet knows, but I'm sure, Teddy, you've heard about the issues with Nickelodeon and what's his name, Dan Snyder. Do you know him? He was like he made all those teenage sitcoms on Nickelodeon. Okay. He was then outed as a predator, and basically at one point in this book, like Nickelodeon basically offer her hush money to not talk about him. And she obviously declined it because she talks about him. She didn't do it by name, but she just called him the creator because she didn't want to say his name. But and so like that was interesting to hear like from her perspective, like how you never hear about that, about a kids network offering hush money to like cover up like a sexual predator, like, and on top of that, like after all said and done, her mom's dead. She's done with Nickelodeon. She's like with this boyfriend, and they're like doing good. And then one day, she's like doing well. She's like going to therapy and stuff, and she's like, I have big news, and he's like, so do I. And she's like, okay, you say yours first. And then her boyfriend's like, I'm the reincarnated Jesus. And she's like, what? And it turns out her boyfriend she was dating was schizophrenic. So that was like another thing that happened to her. And then she found out that the man that she thought was her dad her entire life wasn't her dad. So it's just like it's a train wreck of her life up until this point, and like how she's dealt with all of that. And it sounds like it'd be terrible to read, but it really isn't, because she's still able to make fun of it and have jokes, and kind of like you can tell she's okay with where she's at now. But just hearing her story was very interesting, because it's, you hear a lot about child stars that like get into drugs and stuff, but you never really hear about this side, like the child star that didn't even want to be there. They didn't want to be a child star, and like how she got out of it and how she recovered from a lot of that stuff. And she's doing good now. She has a podcast, actually. It's like I forget what it's called. I think it's called Hard Feelings, and she kind of talks about like some more mental health stuff, and that's really helped me. But yeah, I found her book to be fascinating, and it's a really good read.
What's the saying? When life hits, it like doesn't like
Yeah.
it keeps hitting, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, and like I said, it's a.
Yeah.
If you're not interested in reading the book, she actually narrated her.
An audiobook?
Yeah, audiobook, and it's actually on Spotify and stuff too. So you can actually just listen to it, and it's a good. It's also a pretty good lesson. I've listened to a lot of it as well because I wanted to, where it is from her perspective and she's the one reading it. It was kind of interesting to like listen to some of that too. So.
Were you familiar with her before this book? Like, I know you said on iCarly, but like, did you like know her work or anything?
Yeah, I watched. Okay, so like, I think when iCarly came out, it was like near the end of middle school, so I caught some of it, but like I was getting out of a lot of that stuff at that time. I was kind of growing up a little bit and not really watching a lot of that stuff. But I didn't know her, and I didn't know the show for like maybe I think the show ran for like 5 seasons, and I maybe knew the first couple, because I was still of that age. But other than that, I never kept up with her beyond that, So whenever this book came out and like all the stuff came out about her, I was like, "What? Huh?"
No, it's a very provocative title. It's not something that like your layman will say.
Oh yeah, and it's her with a.
But there is truth.
Yeah, she's like holding like an urn.
Yeah, there's some truth in like, and every person's situation's different, but like, your parents are gonna be your parents, like till the day you die, and in some respects, it holds you back. Not, I mean, everyone differently. Clearly, for her, it's like extreme, but it sounds like it's something that most people would be ashamed to even think. Or say, or would be shamed for saying. So to say that is a very brave thing, because you're gonna get backlash. How dare you talk about your mother that way? But she's being honest with her feelings. It sounds like somebody maybe who's gone through therapy.
Yeah.
So I admire that in a sense.
And
I admire truth speakers,
and she's a very good writer too. And like, I think one of the best aspects of the book that I like is that she really asks people because she doesn't want to be known for the iCarly show or like as the character that she played, because that's not something she's proud of. She wants to be known as a writer. That's what she wants to be identified as. So like the really. Like whenever if you see her like at an event or anything like that, don't be like, oh, you're the girl from iCarly. Be like, oh, you're Jeanette McCurdy, the writer. Like because I don't know. It was an interesting read. I can read from the back of the book. There's a lot of this is a New York Times bestseller, so there's a lot of quotes from the back of the book here, but I'll read the first one. Jeanette McCurdy is the queen of lemonade from lemons, using her trauma to weave a painfully funny story that also illuminates the commodification of teenage girls in America, an important culture document just as much as a searing personal one. And that is from Lena Dunham. I don't know who she is, but that is a good quote.
I gotta ask, and this may come off as insensitive. It's fine. I'm willing to
That's fine.
Just ask it. So like Shia LaBeouf, like he wrote about or went on interviews talking about his dad and how he caused him trauma and stuff, and then later he just took all that stuff back. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, he made like a whole movie out of it, and then later said that it was bullshit. Do you find her accounts credible?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, she talks about every aspect. She comes from like a Mormon household. She has siblings. She talks about every aspect of her life from childhood to now, and every aspect of like what her mom basically did to her up to that point, and everything she had to go through. And she credits like certain times, and like there's like when she was younger. Everything she was casted in for a while up until iCarly was like CSI, those kind of shows, where it's like she played like a child victim, and that was because she knew how to cry on command, and cry on cue. And how she learned how to do that was because her mom basically traumatized her by saying, "Oh no, honey, just imagine your grandpa dying." And then whenever that stopped working, she had to say, "Oh, okay, honey, imagine your brother dying of pneumonia, or imagine your brother dying of this." So she basically ran her through all these terrible scenarios to get this child to be able to cry on command, until one day she just couldn't do it anymore because she was just numb to all of it, and that's just one example of like how she weaves it in with her upbringing and like her career. Because she was known as like the child, like the crying kid, like she said, casting directors would be like, "Give me the crying kid," and she kind of talks about that too. And yeah, and like I said, she does it with some reverence, which I respect, because it's easy to like go into a book like this and being like, "Oh, feel pity for me," feel bad for me. But really, she goes into it and she jokes around through a lot of it about like all the situations and stuff, and like makes little like snips at herself and everything else, which I appreciate, because it sounds like she's able to look back on it now and not take it too seriously now. Like understand like what happened to her and move past it. So yeah, it was good. It was really good. And like I said, it's not something I would normally read. But I kind of caught wind of it. I was watching a video and they kind of talked about some of it, and I was like, that sounds like pretty interesting, actually. So I just dived head in, and that's what I did today. Sorry, Bob Odenkirk.
I think one of the hard things about that is the number one person who could rebuttal you is dead.
Oh, yeah.
So she could never say the things she's saying are factual or unfactual.
It's true.
So, I mean, it just comes with the territory. It still sounds telling. It sounds interesting. I know that the history of child stars is pretty bleak,
Yeah.
what their experience is like. So, that sounds like a good insight into the traumas and trials of children.
Yeah, and I see all the
star industry.
I see the book all the time. Like I said, it was a bestseller. So if you ever see it, give it a go. Give it a read. But it's like I said, it helped me because like if this person who dealt with all these terrible things throughout her life can still look back and joke on it and move past it, like I'm never gonna go through what she went through.
Right.
I'm never gonna have to like go to a therapist one day and then the therapist be like, "Oh, your mom abused you for 18 years," and I'd be like, "What?" Kind of have to like wrap my head around that.
Yeah, I think it is a good takeaway, but I would also enforce that like you're human and it's okay to feel like pain.
Oh yeah,
'cause that's an emotion or it's a feeling, and we all fuck up, we all make mistakes. So it's I understand she's like a superhero for surviving that and not wanting to kill herself or whatever. But
I wouldn't say she even frames...
I don't have a good phrasing for it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I would say she doesn't frame herself as a superhero either. I would say like what I enjoyed about it was just seeing somebody on the other side, like make it to the other side of the situation. And
yeah. Yeah. That helps. Yeah. It's a good takeaway.
Yeah. But it's a good read. I immediately went on to reading some shit about Cthulhu. That's what I'm reading right now. I'm reading I forget what it's called. It's like Cthulhu 2000, and it's a compilation of stories that are inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. Because I've already read basically everything by H.P. Lovecraft, so now I'm like resorting to reading like stories inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. So now that I'm out of that, I'm back on my fucking Cthulhu kick.
I'm in that like state of depression. Like, damn, I just had that like groundbreaking novel that I worked hard as fuck to finish. For this episode, I read like 115 pages like on Tuesday. Yeah, I kind of have that void of like, well, I finished this. Where's the next book? I'm looking at my shelf. And I got some Christmas presents. I got like a Nintendo book, so I had to take one down. And I'm at the point where I have to like start swapping some out, like moving them to the laundry room. And like I picked up this book, Black Leviathan, and I was like, "Fuck, I don't want to read this shit." Like, yeah, I need that like next good like mental fuck. You know, for a long time, I've had 2 authors I could name that did that for me, and I think this guy could be a good third. I just don't want to jump into another one of his books just yet.
I do want to get into. And I read a little bit of it, but I didn't read the whole thing. But you also got me the Ascawada book, and I want to get back into reading that because Iwata's weird.
That would be fun.
Yeah, Iwata's
it would be great to do another
guy.
like just random book talk on the button mappers. I kind of liked when we did that last time.
Yeah,
it's just hard aligning it with the themes.
Yeah, I just feel like if for like this podcast today, if I always just talk about like video game books, like that means all I have to read is video game books, and that's not what I want to do, like I spend so much of my other time doing video game stuff, it's like
no, I appreciated that we could just talk about whatever, like it could be a book about whatever. I think that's important to bring it to the sphere, because I don't think a lot of people are. But the statistics show most people don't read a book after high school.
Yeah.
So immediately like that puts you above.
I was the opposite,
at least in terms of your mental work.
I've read more now than I ever did in high school because I hated reading in high school.
Oh, same, yeah. I read like poppy junk, like your Harry Potters. I read Lord of the Rings. I don't, and honestly, I can't reread that.
A lot of the reading in school that I did was just because I had to, and nobody I feel like. And like I can't speak for all kids, but me personally, like being told I had to read a book made me want to do it less,
Sure. Oh, there were some garbage of the books that we were assigned in high school. I probably read 3. Catcher in the Rye, 1984, and Brave New World. Those are the only ones I actually remember reading. I remember getting quizzed on like a couple books. There's one year I don't even remember reading a book. I don't remember reading a single book in 12th grade, and I don't know how that happened. But 9th grade. We were reading like garbage, like, and everybody. Anytime I bring this up, Wuthering Heights, Jane Austen, they're like, she's amazing, she's the best. So and I'm like, no, I was 14 years old. I didn't understand shit. And it was like written like some pompous bullshit. Everyone talks about how great The Great Gatsby is. I don't know. It seems pretty like out there and classist to me. I don't want to read that.
Yeah, I think it was in 11th grade. I took AP English, and we would actually get assigned books. The school would buy us all the books, and then we got to keep them. And my mom has them somewhere. Nice. Yeah, like my mom has all the books somewhere. But I can't think of everything we've read. But I know we read like To Kill a Mockingbird. We read Awakening. We read The Great Gatsby. We did read that. We read Othello because I had to do a project for a fucking Othello. I'm trying to think what else we read. But we did like one a month. And that's the only way that I got that. Like I was actually, I read books in high school because I had to, because somebody was like, "If you don't do it, you're gonna fail," and I was like, "Shit."
Yeah.
And like you can't like with the way he set up the assignments for that, like I couldn't like Cliff Notes, like the way he would do it is like we would read like The Awakening. And then or something, and then he'd be like, "Okay, so you need to talk about water. What does water symbolize in the book?" So I had to do a whole project about water, which is actually kind of funny. I actually did find the video. My mom saved this video. I don't know why. I did a video project because The Awakening. I forgot her name, but she walks into the ocean at the end of the book and kills herself. Spoilers for The Awakening. So my project was I explained that water represented like freedom, like her freedom to whatever. And then I took a clear bowl of water and some food dye, and I was like, the water represents water. The food dye represents whatever the character's name was, and I just squirted it into the water and like released it. And I'll see if I can. I know I have the video. I'll see if I can download it and put it in this episode, but because it's like 2 minutes long. But it was like the laziest fucking video, like the video project I could do for this, and he gave me like an A+ because he was like, so creative, so great. I was like, I guess.
In The Awakening, water plays a big role with imagery and symbolism. Water symbolizes freedom and escape for Edna. It is a reminder that Edna can only prosper when she is alone and has realized her full strength. Much like baptism, the water serves as a symbol of rebirth in her awakening, and the vast solitude of the water contains both a promise and a threat. The water is strength, glory, and independence. Now, to show you the symbolism of freedom and escape in the water, I have set up a little example to sort of show you. Okay, so the food coloring here is Edna, and as you can see, the food coloring is entrapped in a little container and not free. The bowl of water stands for water. Now, watch what happens whenever I unscrew the lid off of Edna and set her free into the water. This symbolizes Edna being trapped in her marriage and whatever else she might be going through, and she's set free into the water, which is how she ends, is into the water. Finn.
Dude, high school videos were the best. I did one in like psychology. It was not good. It was like me I had my best friend film me just like walking to the lake. And I guess I was supposed to just be expressing like loneliness or something. And mine was the one video the teacher wouldn't show to the class. She showed every other kid's like, group projects and stuff. I guess I wasn't in a group or something. So like the whole thing, high school was just a big bullying experiment. Like, you know, let people pick their own groups, and people who don't get picked, well, too bad for them. Well, and that's your fault.
The water one I did, that was a result of, he would put us into groups, but he would assign the groups. And the group I was with, he noticed I was the only person trying to actually do anything. So he came, because like, we had a different subject for that group. So one day he came to me after class. He was like, "Hey, come here." He was like, "I've noticed that your group isn't making very much progress on so and so, but I know you're trying to." So he was like, "So here, look, I want you to do water. Let them fail. Like when they go to present, let them bomb, and then you can just present what you did by yourself, and then you can get the grade by yourself." And I was like, cool. yeah. So I don't know. I forget. So I stopped working with them on anything. I was basically just following their lead. I was like, okay, we want to fuck around. We're going to fuck around. And then on my own time, I did my project. So whenever we presented at the end of the month, of course, they didn't have anything. They went up there, stumbled around. Of course, they were confused why I didn't go up there with them, is because I wasn't part of their team anymore. They went up there, stumbled around, and then I did my thing by myself. But I was like, that was a good call from that teacher, because like you put people in a group like that, and if the group's not participating, like everybody's going down.
One of my most embarrassing group presentations was in Hawaii when I was in college. I was taking a Hawaiian studies course. And I was with a group of dumb fucks, and one of them was my friend, and that's why we ended up in the group. But we were supposed to reenact the segment or something from the book, and I guess the teacher, she is native Hawaiian. I went up there and I was very I don't want to do this. I had planned with the group, and things just seemed insensitive, but I just wasn't in a bossy position to tell them. I was young and not really a leader. So I just kind of went up there begrudgingly and did it with them, kind of rolling my eyes. And then the whole group got roasted in front of the whole class for depicting Native Hawaiians in a negative way. But I would later go on and talk to the professor, and we actually became close, and she invited me to a Native Hawaiian like ceremony at the end of the college semester.
Wow.
But it was terrible. I didn't want to be put in a position where it's like you're part of this racist group project.
Jesus.
In front of majority non-white people.
If I had, I don't.
The one white person is the one not like doesn't even want to do it.
I don't title these episodes, but if I did title it, the episode of this title would be Racist Group Project. Because that's great.
You can flip it if you want.
No, I'm not putting that in the title. Nobody's gonna watch the video if I call it Racist Group Project. But that was Bookworms. That was fun. Kind of talking about some books we read and sharing. So maybe sometime down the line, maybe we'll bring the segment back. But for right now, we're going to lay the rest.
Bookworms. Bring in the geeks and the gamers.
The geeks and the gamers. So usually I've done this one time, damn it. The next segment that I would have planned is self-improvement. Nobody left anything on the first episode for self-improvement. We don't have...
I did in the Discord.
Did you?
Didn't I?
I don't think a lot of people did, so I don't want to,
It's okay. Whatever. Save it for next time.
Yeah. So
I don't want to do my own.
So I'm holding it back. If you guys want self-improvement to be in the show, I need prompts. It was like, what was it? It was 2 characters, a place, and a dilemma. That's what we need. So leave it in the comments today in this upload.
And YouTube.
YouTube and the YouTube. I mean, you can put it on Discord too, but I just didn't have that many all together. I remember when I recorded what was going to be the second episode with the other guests, we had the same issue because I didn't have anything on the first episode. So.
Oh, maybe that's what happened. Is I put it in Discord for episode 2 or something.
Maybe, but people were like.
Anyways.
People were like, "Wow, stuff in prompts so funny," and then they're not gonna leave prompts. And I'm like, I can't keep doing it if I don't have the prompts. It doesn't work.
Well, prompts below, people. We need self-improvement prompts.
But we are going to do the next segment, which is part gaming, part non-gaming. It's a segment that we all love. Hey. It's Eat It or Beat It.
Eat it or beat it.
Teddy.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to ask you a question, and so you can either hear about something I ate recently or a game I beat recently, and then I'll pass it back to you.
I want to know about what you beat recently. What's a game you beat recently?
Okay. Shit, I wasn't even prepared.
Do you want me to do Eat It?
No. I wasn't prepared for either. To be fair.
Just don't cheat it.
Just don't cheat it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
beat it. Just don't cheat.
I'm trying to think of what game I want to pick for beat it. Because I do have one, but I'm talking about it on the button mappers, and you know what it is. And the episode isn't out yet, though.
Don't do it then.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's the one that I would talk about. Okay.
I have games that I can talk about that aren't affiliated with either channel, so if you want, we'll do Beat It for me.
Okay, I'll do Eat It then. Just because I wasn't prepared. I think I was prepared last time I recorded on the failed one, and then I wasn't prepared this time. Even though my guest for the second episode, he was very entertained by Brian's regret because Brian chose Eat It. Brian chose Eat It, and then he asked for Beat It, and I was like, no, you get one. You get to choose one. What's something interesting I've eaten recently? I don't know. I've been eating a lot of Mexican food, really, so I don't really know. I've been eating a lot of Mexican food.
Well, yeah, sadly, Mexican food isn't interesting because it seems like it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's really not that interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of something.
I like Mexican food a lot.
You know what though? My girlfriend was coming over, and did the day, and she was like, "Do you mind if I pick up lunch?" And I was like, "Okay, go ahead." And she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna swing by Arbys." And she swung by Arbys, and she wasn't telling me what she was getting me. She was just like, "How hungry are you?" And I was like, "I'm pretty hungry." So I shared this on my Discord, but she brought me a meat mountain, which is the dumbest sandwich I've ever had. It's literally every piece.
Oh, no.
It's literally every piece of meat they had in the kitchen. It's like it's It's like one bit of everything. It's like some brisket, some roast beef, some chicken, some fish, some it's like all kinds. It's just like it's just a monster of a bunch of meat on bread. It was like the dumbest thing I've ever eaten, and I was like, they're not.
If I can name them. Do you know the meats?
No, but you know what though? You can try to name them, and I'll tell you if I know if they were on there or not. How about that?
Roast beef.
Yes.
Okay. Ham.
Yes, actually, yes.
Brisket.
Yeah, brisket was.
How many more do we have?
Quite a few.
Pepperoni.
Nope.
Salami. Yeah, I shouldn't stick with these like these sphere ones. We get one more guess. Turkey?
Yeah, turkey. It had turkey.
How many more? Two?
That I could think of maybe 3 more.
Chicken?
Chicken, yeah. So there's only 2 more that I remember.
Steak?
No.
All right, that's 3 strikes.
The last 2 were bacon and corned beef because they had because they have corned beef for like a Reuben.
Wow, that's good.
So yeah, it was just a bunch of meat on bread. It's not the best thing. Eat it doesn't have to be the best thing I've eaten recently, but like it's definitely the dumbest thing. It's definitely the dumbest thing I've eaten recently.
Oh my god.
But they're not supposed. I've never asked for it because they're not supposed to serve that. It's like a I guess like a secret menu thing or something. But they're not supposed to do it. So the fact that she told me that she went to the counter and she was like, "Hey, what's the biggest sandwich you guys have?" And apparently the person behind the counter was like, "That would be the Meat Mountain." Because she told me, she was like, "Do you know what a Meat Mountain is?" And I was like, "You got them to make a Meat Mountain? Why?" And it was like
it's like a signature dish. You have to get it.
It was like a $14 sandwich because it's like all the meats, So yes, I did eat. I make all the jokes about Arbys all the time, and I did eat a Meat Mountain. So
eat it, feed it, or meat it. You picked meat it.
I did.
You got meated.
Teddy, since I didn't have anything ready for Beat It, which I probably should, this is my show, but we'll pass it to you. What's a game you've beaten recently?
I got quite a few to talk about, but I'll pick one. So, I've been on the Resident Evil kick lately. I really don't want to pick one of those because I know we want to talk about them later. But I will go back to Alan Wake. At the time we did it for Game Talk, I had gotten 4 chapters in. And now I'm at the point where I beat all 6 chapters and the DLC. And I have to say, it was a phenomenal game. I don't know if any game I played... Actually, Resident Evil 4 might give it a run for its money for Game of the Year, but I may play bigger and better by the end of the year. I just had a phenomenal time with Alan Wake Remastered. It was my first time playing, but I think I can talk kind of about, like, the latter half of the game at this point. The last 2 chapters weren't, like, groundbreaking for me, but it did make it feel like I was playing some kind of like Stephen King / in the game thing, or like in the book, in the mind. Alan's tragic demise, I guess, spoiler alert, if you want to play it. He does get kind of trapped in his own manuscript. And the DLC is him finding his way out, and it is a clusterfuck. The game gets significantly harder by the DLC chapters. And you could probably play the game without playing the DLC and get the full experience, but I think it just goes to show like how chaotic it was. I mean, I'm not qualified to speak about like mental disorders, but it does feel like those last 2 chapters would be what I was playing if I was like in a like bipolar or schizophrenic mind. I think that's the best way I could describe it. It's just super chaotic, and thoughts aren't making sense, and you're using the flashlight to make like ammo appear, like based on words and stuff, and it's very limited. You know, the amount of ammo you get. So I didn't know what to expect. And another thing that I actually really liked about playing the DLC was with the chapters. I kind of had an idea. Okay, this is going to be 2.5 hours long, and then I'm done. You know, with this chapter, and I move on. With the DLC, I just didn't know when it was going to end. It felt like it would never end. I felt like I was stuck in a nightmare, and that was really cool. I really like that they included the DLC with the game, with the remastered edition. I guess you had to buy it back in the day, but it really does make it feel like a complete experience. And I am really excited to just get more into the universe. I was hesitant to start Control immediately because I knew I was jumping into like a really great thing. And you know, when you go into a really great thing, you just don't want it to end right away. That's kind of the sensation I'm getting. And so I think that kind of kickstarted, you know, me switching over to Resident Evil, like going straight to 3 remake and 4 before we had planned anything for it. Because I was like, I just want something like similar to this to keep playing. And I think it's increased my appreciation for Resident Evil a bit. I already appreciate it a little bit. You know, we did 2 and 4 last year for the remakes, but I don't know. Something about horror, like I'm beginning to gain an appreciation for it that I didn't previously have, like especially the psychological stuff. But I think one of the beauties of horror is that it makes you feel something. You know, a lot of other genres, when they do it right, they make you work for an awesome conclusion, whether it's like a science fiction or a psychological thing. But that's not always the case. Pretty much any time you play a horror game, you are bound to feel just something, like a tension.
Yeah.
And feeling anything is exciting. And fortunately, like Alan Wake does it tactfully and in a way that blends in your psychology and Alan's psychology, and just kind of the mystery element too. So I appreciated that.
No, I mean, you're hitting home exactly why I'm such a big horror fan to begin with. Because, I mean, honestly, I can't think of a lot of other games that actually make me feel something. Like, there are games that make me think. You know, there's like, you know, I'm a fan of like, I think of like Yoko Taro Suit 51, where they do like things that are, you know, profound or you know, just like outside the bounds of game storytelling, that I'm like, huh, you know. But few genres actually like make me feel something while I'm playing the game, like horror does, you know. So, you know, it makes me like and that more like much more invested, I think, in the narrative and my own survival. You know, when I'm playing like a platformer, I fall, I'm like, oh, whatever. Boo-hoo, you know, I'm gonna get back up and go again. You know, I'm playing a Resident Evil game or something, you know, and I'm getting chased down and dying, and I'm like, oh shit! You know, it feels more tangible, you know. Like it's
almost a guarantee. It's like I was talking to my dad about it. It's almost a cheat code. You know, when you're playing like in making a game. You know, horror is really popular on like Twitch and YouTube and stuff, but like, you can guarantee that like people are craving that sensation because they don't feel other things, you know, or they just don't tap into it.
Yeah.
And so like that feeling's exciting when you feel something. A lot of people don't feel anything. I'm very emotionally aware, I would like to say. Like, you know, I get emotional playing freaking like Fire Emblem or Zelda or SMT or whatever it is, or watching a movie. So I don't need horror all the time. But I also recognize that, like, that same feeling or a similar feeling to just feeling comes up when I'm in, like, a Resident Evil or an Alan Wake. And I'm not talking about jump scares. I don't care about jump scares. But I do care about, like, you know, putting me in situations where it feels like I'm getting screwed.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of ganados running up in front of me or a bunch of shadows. And, you know, the flashlight mechanic, in addition to the shooting them thing, it's actually genius.
Yeah,
it's annoying, but it's genius.
It's like when the odds feel insurmountable, you know, and you're able that I think, and I know you're not into them, but me and Spencer like them. That's what's also appealing about like the Souls type of games, is because the odds feel insurmountable. It's like almost the same type of thing. But it's for an RPG setting instead. It's like, you know, and then you're able to come out on top. You know, it's just kind of, again, it just makes you like feel something. You know, it's like,
right.
So.
And I think with the Souls thing, it's more about like the satisfaction.
Yeah, it's more about the satisfaction.
It can be the case for, you know, for horror too. Like you do feel like you overcame the insurmountable as well. It's just that I think with Souls it's more about like the actual challenge or something. I don't know. It's weird to explain. I've never beaten a Souls game. Unfortunately, I had that bad run-in with Bloodborne you know about.
Yeah.
So there's time. Maybe when the time is right.
Going back to Alan Wake 1, that was one of my favorite games on the original Xbox 360. I fell in love with that game the first time I played it, and I really love the narrative in that game, and like the fact that Alan's almost an untrustworthy narrative, right? I say a untrustworthy narrator, like in a sense, like especially when you get to that last episode, and it shows like him and Alice in New York, and like the interview and stuff for his Alex Casey book and everything, and stuff starts to click a little more, you know, and I like that aspect of the game, is that the game isn't afraid to like leave you in the dark for a lot of it, you know, and like make you question things and question, you know, if you can even trust the main character. And yeah, I adored that game so much. When I first played it on 360, it was unlike anything else. I mean, it was 2010. It was like not a lot of games were doing narrative like that. I think like fucking what do I play? I played like Mass Effect, but that's like your basic sci-fi game, you know. And then like what else on 360 did I play that had something like that? I think you haven't played it, so I won't tell you. But there's like one moment in Gears of War 2 where I'm like, whoa, that's kind of well, okay. But other than that, it's like not much, you know. not much was really doing this at that time. So I really love that game for that reason. And if you missed the Button Mappers Game of the Year last year, Alan Wake 2 was my Game of the Year, and it's like it's almost because it's like they took ideas from the first game, up the horror, and it just feels more like a more realized game than the first game, and I loved it. So I was happy that they were able to, you know, expand upon the first game and do it justice with a sequel.
Eventually, when I get there in terms of the canon, I will be excited.
The canon. We keep talking about the damn canon.
There's no escape from the canon.
No,
canonically, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting there.
I'm excited to see what you think about Control, because it is hard. Warning there, it is a hard game. There's no difficulty settings, but it's almost just a 3D Metroidvania, and it's very cool. It's a very cool game, and it has some really cool visual design, and the story is pretty nice, and it's like when it came out. I remember when it came out, it got like a ton of, you know, rewards and stuff, you know, awards and everything when it first came out. And then I remember being like, well, okay, I'll give it a try. I like Alan Wake. And then I really got into it. So, I mean, whenever you do get around to playing it, I'm just saying, like, do it now, you know, whenever you're ready. But when you do get into playing it, I'll be curious to see what you think of it overall. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm up to Resident Evil 5 right now, so give me some time with that.
You did touch upon it, and we are going to talk about them later, but we can still talk about them. You beat Resident Evil 3 Remake and the original 4. You went back and played the original 4 again. The original 4 is that's a masterpiece. We're talking about masterpieces today in an episode that will come out in the future on the Butt Mappers. That's a fucking masterpiece right there. But I was just curious, like, thoughts on 3 Remake? What did you... How are you feeling about that?
I know. Well, you know, it's very interesting playing it back to back with 4, because 4 I just spent 16 hours playing, and 3 Remake I beat in 6. So, you know, there's like questions there about like, okay, it's a shorter game, like, but what, like, was it originally the first time it came out? And then the characters, you know, what is that one? Jill? That's Jill Valentine.
Jill, and then the other guy is Carlos, the guy you get to join up with.
Carlos, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've not been following the series, so like in terms of the canon, so I don't really know who's
the canon.
But yeah, I don't think it's as like iconic. I think like with the other games, so many elements are iconic. I think with that first game, just the cheesiness makes everyone iconic. You know, like the comparable guy to Wesker here is like some Russian guy who's just kind of a dweeb. There's not really a boss fight with him. Nemesis is like a changing entity throughout the game, so we really don't assign like a visual to it. And the zombies, I don't really feel the satisfaction of killing them. By the end of the game, I don't even think I killed 100 of them. I think I killed like 88 or something. Because they're really overpowered. I play the game on normal difficulty, but your weapons don't do shit. And the thing I appreciated, I guess, was like sometimes I find with the early Resident Evil games, kind of like the map exploration can be daunting. So I found that just the action elements, moving scene to scene, was refreshing.
I mean, that's basically what 4 does. For the most part. I mean, way better.
Yeah,
but
because
yeah.
There's very minimal backtracking, if any, and it's primarily for treasure.
Yeah. Treasure month?
Resident Evil 4. Game talk game, maybe.
Yeah, and it's interesting hearing your opinion on 3 Remake and stuff, and just because that's a game I already don't like that much, is the original 3. So like my big takeaways from that remake is that like I just kind of wish I wish they fully realized the vision of the first time they did Nemesis, instead of kind of just remaking it. Like I kind of wish they just made it like a better game, and they didn't. And it sucks because like Nemesis is like an iconic character within the franchise. Like he's in that second movie. I don't remember that. Remember that? I don't know if you blocked out all that movie. I was like, I don't know if you blocked that out after our podcast we did on that, but yeah, he was in that. And like some of the other like the Marvel versus Capcom 3 and so and like those kind of games, like they include Nemesis as like one of the Resident Evil like mascots. So it's sad to see like a character that is kind of stapled to the series come from a game I don't like.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like they could have added more chapters or something to make it bigger. I don't know. I don't know how to feel. I'd have to do another run because already there's parts of this remake that I blocked out. I was talking to Ty Lord about it. I was like, hey, I just finished 3 remake, and then I just beat 4. And he told me he's playing 3 remake and he's up to the part with the bugs. I'm like, part with the bugs?
Yeah, it's like a bug nest.
Where were the bugs?
It's like, remember you had to go. Bug nest yeah, it was like an electrical area you had to go through to like turn on something, and it was like a nest. Like they had turned a power plant into a nest of bugs, and you had to go turn the switches on. And there's like, you don't remember any of that?
No, but I can tell you about the part with the bugs in 4. Like.
Yeah, that's not good. If you can't remember it, it's like something like that.
No, I really don't.
Yeah, I think that's almost the biggest crime a Resident Evil game can do, right? Is to be unmemorable. Like, I think a lot of the best games are memorable for good reasons, and then a lot of the worst games are still memorable, but for bad reasons. But at least they're still memorable. Like I can tell you everything about Resident Evil 6. That's not a good game, but I can tell you every goddamn thing because it's memorable. Like the elements of the game stick out. It's like
yeah. I could tell you parts about 1, and I played it once.
Yeah,
that's comparable. I played it like how many years ago now? 4, 3.
Yeah, like I mean the encounter with Lisa and the Win remake. Like that's a.
Sure, even taking those out, right? Like the remake elements that were added. Like I could tell you about the plant puzzle with like the vials. I could tell you about like the final section with the tyrant, In 3 remake, what's another boss I fought before besides Nemesis? Is there any? Can't name one. What's a major thing I did in the game aside from an escape sequence from Nemesis where it's auto run? I can't name it. But I played it.
And that's my biggest.
What's the guy's name? Carlos?
Carlos. That's my biggest problem with that remake too. Is that like they already showed me with the 2 remake with Mr. X that like they could do that and it'd be cool. Like they could have that like opposing character and have him be like a narrative force throughout the game and make me afraid of him. I wasn't afraid of Nemesis the entire remake.
I will say though that maybe that can be detrimental to the game is to have that like one overarching boss, because I don't think from 2 I can name another boss besides him either.
Really? You can't name Birkin? William Birkin? He's the scientist?
Oh yeah, I guess so. But even then, like, it didn't first come to mind. I just think of Mr. X haunted me throughout the game.
Well, I always think of William Birkin with his big shoulder eyeball. You know, you like shoot him in the eyeball, in the shoulder eyeball.
The problem is I just played 4, so 4 is like iconic in every.
Oh my god!
Chapter.
Yeah, 4 is a masterpiece. That game is fucking brilliant. I actually
4 never stops. It's like a carnival of amusement. Like it's okay. You just got off the Ferris wheel. Now let's go to like the dragon coaster thing. To me, like that's what happens with like, okay, you just got out of the bug sewer. Now let's go to Salazar with his right arm, and then the left arm is downstairs in the basement, and you got to shoot the tanks. Non-stop amusement. It is a perfectly paced game. It's so good.
Oh yeah, no, okay, and I don't want to say anything bad about the 4 remake because I really did like the 4 remake. Like I thought it was well done, but the original Resident Evil 4 captures something that I don't think I've seen any other game capture. It is cheesy and also scary and action-packed, and it's just like a culmination of different aspects into one brilliant package. You know, and like you tell me you just beat the original, that made me want to play the original, and I have it on PS4, but I don't want to fucking play that thing. So I actually just downloaded the original again to my Steam Deck because I was like, perfect, I can play it on Steam Deck, and I'm gonna give it another go because it's been a minute. But there's so many, even though I haven't fully played that game, it's so fucking long. There's so many moments in that game that still stand out to me to this day that I'm like, wow, like what an almost perfect game. I love that game.
Yeah.
Like they tried to like chase that trend, you know, into like into 5 and 6.
5 maybe.
And they couldn't get it. They couldn't get the right formula. I think they thought people liked it just for the goofy action. And
there's a different developer for 5 onwards.
Yeah, and
the next game that guy did, Hirofuki or something? I don't remember.
No, it's no. I thought 4 was shit. Not. It wasn't Kamiya. It was He went on to do Evil Within.
Yeah, Evil Within. Well, that guy. That's the next game he did.
I know his damn name.
The director is different. So I could see how like. You know, the decisions going into
Shinji Mikami. That's 4. Yeah.
Okay, but one of the guys just stayed with the series forever. That might be him. There's another guy I think that was exclusive to 4 and like to 1 or something. I don't know. Well, anyways, yeah. So I could see how like that direction was not necessarily replicated. But after that, like I'm interested in playing the Evil Within. Like I want to know, like what did this guy do, like going forward?
Like Evil Within 1 and 2 were both flawed but good. So like don't go into it expecting perfect games, but they're good. But Capcom, I just think after 4, they didn't understand why people liked 4. They just knew people did. So they were like, okay, I guess they like it for the action, so we'll do that. And like, look, there's big monster bosses. And, you know, and stuff like that. But, like, they were never able to capture the same atmosphere and magic as the original 4. They just didn't know how to do it. You know, even when they actually, like, tried. Like, that 5 and 6, I don't think... 5, maybe they tried. 6, they didn't try. But even, like, I would say, like, even, like, the Revelations games, which are good, those try to still capture that atmosphere. And while they are good, they still can't. You know, they still just aren't on that level.
No, it's close, but it's just not there. And I think like the elements of comedy, like you said, like it's just nice and it's appreciated. They kind of like overacting almost. Who's the guy who plays Leon Mercier?
Is it Matt Mercer or something like that, or is it something like that?
Something. Yeah. Anyways, I recognized his name in the credits. I was like, oh yeah, no wonder. Like, he's probably done a lot of other voice acting. Salazar's like high pitched voice, kind of Luis I could tell you lines if you like. Just tell me a character. It's so good.
Yeah, there's moments that still the moment where who's the first guy you fight with the beard? What the hell's his name?
Ramon, or no, that's not Ramon. It's it's another R name.
Yeah, it's another R name. But
Chief. I don't know.
I don't know, but I always think of that clip where Leon like kicks him and he grabs his foot and tosses him into the wardrobe, and like I'm like why do I remember that?
Yeah. First thing Lewis says, "Gotta smoke."
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, that one's good. Anything with Ada, the whole. And I think with the remakes of 2 and 4, they play into that way too much. But I love the original Ada Leon relationship because Ada is just cucking him the entire time, man. That's her. There's no romantic feelings from her. She's fucking with him the entire time, and I love it.
Like the Star Wars kind of meme clip is like, "Father."
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we get that out of Leon a bunch of times, multiple times in the story. Or Lewis, just time.
Well, I mean, of course, the most popular line is "Where's everybody going? Bingo." Which is like that's the tone setter for the game. When the title comes up, you're like, "Oh shit, this is a good game."
Yeah, that's just that one segment to open the game is fantastic.
Oh yeah, that the opening village segment is almost like a perfect introduction to a game because it locks you into one area. It basically tells you nothing, and then you have to teach yourself a lot of the mechanics. I know Helena comes on and she's like, there's one of your drivers like roasting on the thing, she has like the little. I don't know what they call it, but I'll call it codec because I would think of Metal Gear Solid like the codec conversations. Those are there, but she's never like, Leon, grab your pistol and grab the shotgun and do. It's like the game knows that the player's smart enough to figure this out, and it locks them in this area, and it's like, okay, survive until I say it's done. You're like, okay.
By the way, okay, you found the area with a shotgun. Here comes a guy with a chainsaw.
Oh, yeah.
Go fuck yourself. Things like barricading the door. It's like, where was that scene before?
Yeah.
Like, what other game?
That opening segment really feels like you've dropped in the middle of a horror movie, Like, none of it feels scripted. Like, it makes, and that's what you're talking about, like, that feeling from horror games. Like, it makes you feel something. Like your all your senses are like your senses are just heightened at that point, So I could talk all day how much I fucking love that game.
It's a beautiful, masterful experience. Yeah, I love it.
So, all right, we do have 2 more segments. One of them is an actual segment. The other one is not really. But the next segment. And sorry, audience, that I don't have as many segments today as usual. But, we talked about books, so hopefully you like books. The next segment is a mental health exercise. It is from attitude to gratitude. So, Teddy, we are going to talk about something negative that's happened to us recently. And then we're going to talk about something positive that has happened and end on a positive note, because it's, kind of helps you clear your brain out a little bit and keep yourself positive. So, yeah. Do you have anything you want to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So, I'm a teacher and I get breaks, so I'm on February break. A problem I always have, anytime I get a break or vacation and I stay home, I don't go anywhere, is I kind of just feel like I wasted my vacation. And I overthink a lot. Like, I'll have a beer and then my sleep will get bad. And I'll be like, oh, I'm going to go back to work all, shit-minded. It's just, it's bad all around. And like the point is to rest. I've worked really hard these past couple of weeks. I'm burnt out now. Let me just recharge. And I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to just stop doing, like how to stop doing what I'm doing. I'll make videos. I'll just be productive. I'll just kind of do the things I want to do, but it's almost not relaxing because I'm still intensive. I'm still working. So I went through most of this week. I had the whole week off, just kind of like, doing clips, like I hang out with, the lady, and just not finding ways to really stop doing anything. And I think what kind of helped was just going to see my parents, going to see my dad, going to the movies. We didn't really have to do anything. We didn't have a plan. We wanted to see this one movie at the Arts Theater, The Monk and the Gun, but then it wasn't even playing, and we found something else called Perfect Days, and the movie was kind of about nothing. It was about a guy who cleans toilets in Japan. And I think that movie kind of like was like emblematic about like it's very aptly titled for what I'm trying to experience, the perfect days. The guy literally does nothing. So just going to the movie theater, sitting through this movie that almost for 90% of it felt completely meaningless, was meaningful. It was meaningful in how meaningless it was. Just about the mundane and the boring life. So, and the other irony is too, like, his job is literally to clean. It's to clean things, to make things organized. I hate cleaning. I hate doing laundry. I have to do it in a shared apartment building. It's a guy described it today, a shot in the dark, because you bring your clothes down and you don't know if all the machines got taken. So it's just part of the struggle of city living. And just kind of like rethought it. I always do this stuff with headphones on because I want to distract myself. I don't want to like be thinking about the fact that I'm cleaning. And today I just went and I did laundry and just went and just did it. And it's just my existence. And I just like learned to love like even those moments knowing I'm doing a good thing. So I think like in terms of the gratitude, like one thing like I appreciate is, that I can like be helpful and do productive things without like making a product out of it, if that makes sense. Like having to like feel obligated to like make a video or something. Obviously I'm still going to want to do videos. I, schedule all these collabs. I was kind of pestering you all week. When are we doing Hey Geeks and Gamers, but at the end of the day, just kind of seizing the moments and living the moments and spending it with loved ones, spending it with my dad and my mom, seeing them because they're, it's a bit of a drive to go see them, but making the time to do nothing and be carefree. It's nice.
Nice. And the answer is right now. We're doing a podcast right now, Daddy.
Shit, I'm stressed out. No, I'm good. No, this is nice. This is relaxing. With my loved one.
Aw. With mine, usually I like to do, one negative thing and then one positive thing. Today, I'm going to talk about something that started negative and then rolled into a positive, I think. Is I kind of had like a little bit of a journey over the past week of my life. Where I have to do it. I want to be like 60 and someone's gonna say the word journey. I'm gonna go journey because it's never leaving. It lives up here. Journey. So the last couple months, my former job has been kind of giving me hell. And I feel okay. I don't like talk about the jobs I work while on YouTube because obvious reasons. I don't want people bothering me. But I don't work it anymore, so I can talk about it. Is I've been over the past year, I've been delivering for Amazon, and the last 2 months it felt like they were really giving me the runaround, cutting my hours, making my life hell. So this last week, I got to work and I was getting ready to queue up. I got my van for the day. I was getting ready to queue up. And they come over with some paperwork and tried to accuse me of something that I know damn well I didn't do. And I just, I was like, I quit. You know, like that was given too much. You know, like you can't treat people like that and then expect them to stay around. You know, like to stay and work for you. So I just quit. And honestly, that was the good thing that came out of it. Is like I've never quit a job. Usually, when I've quit a job, I've been like, "Oh, is this a bad choice? Like, why did I do that? Like, should I?" No, this is the first time I've ever quit a job where I'm just 100% like, "Fuck that." Like, I'm out. You know, and that was a great. Like, I've had a good attitude the rest of the week because I'm just like, I'm free of this shit. Like, I don't have to deal with this anymore. I'm doing it the last 2 months. I'm not gonna deal with this shit anymore. I liked that job at one point, but the last 2 months I was trying to give them time to shape up. I was trying to give it a chance, but it wasn't working. And I guess that's my biggest takeaway is like, people don't let employers or anybody like that just bullshit you. Don't, obviously, like, give it time. If you think it might work out, try, but don't let people treat you like that. Like, stick up for yourself. And that's what I felt like I did. I was like, okay, fuck this. And right now I have other plans, for work, so it's fine. I'm perfectly fine. And I was happy to get out of that situation. So that's my gratitude. If I didn't have to pick that for gratitude, my other gratitude was going to be the fact that I went to a tractor pull, which I was telling Teddy about that. I went to a tractor pull, which is the most redneck thing I've ever done. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Dude, I was drinking. I fully immersed myself that night because I was like at a tractor pull where they're tractors to see how far they can pull things. By the way, if you didn't know what a tractor pull was, it's the most redneck thing ever. It's like tractors and trucks. And I was drinking like Budweiser and fucking hooting and hollering with all these rednecks. It was fun. So yeah, that's my segment.
Yeah, one of my proudest moments at work was standing up to my boss, and it changes the dynamic too. Unfortunately, yours came with having to find a new job, but
It's fine.
I agree with that. There are times where I think when I was younger, and I just didn't fully grasp like the situation. You kind of have to like just trust your boss to know what's going on, and then they kind of take advantage of that. I feel like, but the more equipped you become, the more knowledgeable you become about like the position. I think it's important to play like chess a little bit, like just see what the impact is. How bad is it really going to be if you just say something? What is the worst thing? The goal should be to find out more anyway. And if some injustice is happening, you should call it out.
Yeah.
Shouldn't let yourself get walked on if you feel that you're getting walked on. My problem is I have a slow processing time. I need time to just think about everything that transpired and make sure I'm not just reacting. I can do that sometimes. I can just act on emotion. Like something that could be said at work that could really just upset me. But if it's obvious bullshit, and then it's worth being called out. And if you're meeting with your boss, you can talk with them during the meeting to bring it up. Don't be afraid to bring it up. Don't sit on something that upsets you.
Yeah, don't just sit on it. Yeah, don't let it fester like that, because that's not going to help you. Anyway.
Don't sign anything you don't agree with.
Yeah. It was, like I said, I left knowing that I had other options immediately for work. So it's not like I needed them, and so I'm like, they clear, they're treating me like shit, but then they, where it's like, oh, we need all the help we can get, well, don't treat people like shit then. That's your lesson. This is because they, you can't keep employees like that,
Yeah.
So yeah. But it's cool, like I said, I've been in good spirits all week, it's like, I haven't been upset about it. Like I'm just glad I'm out of it, So
yeah, definitely.
So
that's good for you.
Yeah. Cool. I have one more segment, but it comes at the very end, so we can just talk about whatever until we're ready to wrap up.
Sure. Do you know how long we've been recording?
I can go check. Hold on.
I got an hour 33 on my end. But I started earlier, I think.
Yeah, I got an hour 31. You started 2 minutes before me.
Unreleased minutes.
The unreleased minutes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could just chat about whatever for a minute if you want to. Do you have any plans for your channel you want to talk about or anything? Anything you're working on?
Well, we are hammering away at Turbo Throwdown. If we have the energy, I think we'll record after this. So it'll be a race to see who gets what up first.
I think I'm at the disadvantage in this race.
Probably. Yeah, I'll probably win, but whatever. Very exciting Congo Bongo Altered Beast versus.
Oh, Lord. I'm ready.
Should be up by the time this episode's up.
I'm ready. Yeah.
I'm ready to continue on with the series. I mean, it'll be a good episode, but it's just, I want to get to some of the more exciting ones. So
I get to pick. I get to pick the next one after that. So I got to see what I want to do.
That is exciting. Yeah, you'll need to look at the doc.
I got to figure that out.
I was talking about Dr. Mario.
Yeah, yeah, you've been doing some NES stuff too. You still.
I'm trying to figure out my niche. What's gonna keep people coming back to the channel. Obviously, I know people say oh, your personality is great and whatever. Okay, but that doesn't maintain the fan base. I feel like. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm not too tied down to just being an N64 reviewer or NES reviewer. I always go seasonal. I go kind of phases. I did the Spaceship Shooter series. I did Castlevanias. I did Mega Mans. And I think for now, I want to do NES specifically because I'm collecting NES. I got a crate full of NES carts right now. And it's been fun, just digging through them and just experiencing a point in life which I wasn't around for, which I never had a NES, and I've always appreciated classic games. So it's been fun just kind of experiencing it in that way. What is out there? What is Adventures of Bayou Billy? How far can I
Bad. That's what it is. Bad.
But there's fun in just exploring that. That's when you used to go through the GameStop Wii bins,
Oh, hell yeah.
That's exactly how I feel. It's and so I kind of just want to share that experience. I've been enjoying ranking them, just playing a little bit ranking, and then if I really am into it, reviewing it. By the way, Dr. Mario level 19, forget it. It's too much.
What's your craziest NES story?
Do I have one?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still, I think, just the Retron loving it on me. And then the NES is giving me problems, Brian. The top loader. I was very sad when Dragon Warrior didn't work on my Retron 3. So I'm in the market for a Retron 5. I'm thinking about it. And then for my current collection, I had to... So I tried cleaning some of my carts that I got in a lot. I got a $60 lot with Mario Bros 2 and other ones. And I couldn't I tried cleaning them and they weren't working, but I brought them to the store and they used something called Brazo, some brass cleaner, and it fixed the carts. So that was interesting. On the crazy level, it's a 2 out of 10.
Whoa!
They cleaned the pins? No way!
No. Do you have a Super Nintendo?
No, but the Retron 3 has a SNES slot.
I was just curious.
No Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay. I was just curious because I know, I forget who. I think it's Stone Age Gamer, one of those companies. I think they might make a NES to Super Nintendo converter thing. Where you could plug NES games into a Super Nintendo. But I'm not entirely sure about that because I've never done it. So, but I was just curious if you had a Super Nintendo for that. I was trying to think of other solutions. But even something like that, I don't know if it. I don't have a Retron 3. I haven't used a Retron 3 since my friend had one back in 2010. Do you remember, or 11? Do you remember Mark's old review of the Retron 3 with with the weird dial in the middle where you had to select the game and then that's the model that he had that I played. So,
yeah.
It's been a very long time.
they have compatibility issues no matter what, like the 3 and the 3 HD. So it comes with the territory. Majority of my games work. So I don't. It surprised me when I did that buyer beware video, but honestly, I'm having some luck with it lately. Just not those carts that I showed that didn't work, which was Tetris and Dragon Warrior, unfortunately. I got Final Fantasy working, but it's the screen is weird. It's choppy at the top and bottom, and it looks terrible on the big TV.
Weird. I'll
send you a clip later.
I was just messing around on my Amazon account the other day, and sometimes I'll go on stuff and I'll just be like, I'm just gonna look around. So I was on my Amazon account and I was on my purchases, and I was like, I wonder how far back this goes. Like I just want to see what I bought, 10 years ago. So I kept going back, and it went as far back as 2014. But I realized that I bought the Retron 5 in 2015. It was like December 23rd, 2015 is when I bought my Retron 5. And I was like, damn, I've had that thing that long. It's just. I was like, oh my god.
Almost about to be a decade.
Yeah, because I was just looking back, I was looking at some of my Amazon purchases from a while back. Like, why did I buy that? It's just kind of funny to look at that stuff. What the hell's going on? And be like, I wouldn't buy that now. What the hell's this?
No. Dude, was buying so much shit back in the day. I used to do all my game shopping online.
Yeah. Dude, I forgot there was a point where I bought retro games on Amazon. I was on Amazon and it was like 2014. You bought a copy of Rocket Knight Adventures, and I was like, from Amazon? I was like,
it's not the way to go either, because they never post pictures of the things on Amazon. People never understand why I don't use Amazon to buy games. That's why.
I'll use them to buy new games if I just want a brand new thing, sometimes, but or a controller or something. But no, I usually do eBay for a lot of the retro games. But it's been so long that it was the last stuff that I bought on there was Rocket Knight Adventures for Genesis, and then I bought a handful of PlayStation 2 games, and that were used games, and I was just weirded out by the fact that I used to do that, and I just forgot I used to do that. It's holy shit. If you would have asked me, I would have said I bought that on eBay. I bought Rocket Knight Adventures on eBay. I didn't. I bought it on fucking Amazon. So, and I think it's because at some point I just switched over to using eBay for everything. For games. So weird, weird. Very weird. Different. Yeah. But yeah, no, I've had, and it's sitting right over here beside me. I can't grab it because it's plugged up, but it's sitting right over here. I have this Retron 5, and I still use it. It has a copy of Tetris for NES plugged in right now. So
there you go. Great game.
Yeah. It's not quite Dr. Mario though. It doesn't have the song.
Tetris has 2 song options, though.
Tetris is right?
That's one.
I don't know what the other one is, because that's the good one.
I don't remember either.
See, but that's the thing. Dr. Mario has 3 or 4 bangers? I think 3 maybe.
No, just 2. It's
what?
Fever and Chill.
Oh, but isn't Chill Wait, is Chill the one that's or something like that? It's hold on.
You keep going with that?
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think of how it is exactly, because I haven't heard it in so long. It's I don't know how it goes now. Damn it. I lost it. I had it for a second and I lost it.
I can only think of the classic one. And then I think of Tetris. They just both have one song that stands out. The other song does not stand out.
Oh, dude.
Although I like Chill.
I do think of the one from Pac-Man, Pack Attack. You know that one? Mm-hmm. I've played more Pack Attack than I would like to admit. And then there's this sick solo in the middle of it. It's and then it goes back to the regular song.
That's great.
It's pretty sick. It's pretty sick. Puzzle games have the opportunity to make some really good music, or they have the opportunity to do the whatever Columns does. So.
I played the Columns so long, but I still
oh, it's terrifying. Like even like
it's
the
cacophony of effects.
I can't think of the song right now. I know, but even the one from like Mean Bean Machine is pretty good. But I don't know what the hell they were doing with Columns. Like nobody like you want to make your music catchy because like that's what you're gonna be hearing the whole time. You know, you're just gonna be hearing the song. So like you want to make it catchy, not like whatever the hell that was.
Everything about Columns is not catchy. It's pretty fucking bad. It's just the idea of like a vertical block, you can't move it, but you can change the color arrangement.
Yeah, I think it was like we need to make a Tetris, and that was as far as the idea went. Like we got to do Tetris, guys. Okay. Luckily, Sega would go on to buy I don't know what the company's called, but the company that owned Puyo Puyo, because now Sega just has Puyo Puyo. So anytime Sega does a puzzle game, it's just Puyo Puyo now, which is good because that's a good game, you know. But they've left Columns in the dust, except for those like compilations. But you know.
It's a Sega Genesis classic, you know?
Classic. I feel like there's a few of those Sega Genesis classics that are only classics because they won't stop including them.
Yeah, Echo, Columns. We're learning them.
Yeah.
Dynamite Heady.
We're learning them.
Decap Attack.
Okay, Dynamite Heady, I would not label it a classic. Maybe.
No.
Like, definitely Echo and Columns. Those are two of them. That's like, well. Like it almost just those two like almost just get a pass because it's like well they gotta be here.
Super Thunderblade.
Yeah, that's definitely one. I feel like even like the Genesis version of Space Harrier sometimes it gets like the pass. Yeah, I was like, well, like I guess. I mean, it is a game. Yeah. You know, like it's like if the roles were reversed and Nintendo had a bunch of compilations of their old games, the NES classics that would do that would be like Kung Fu and what's the one where you're fighting in the street? You're two guys like Urban Champion. Yeah, Urban Champion.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say Bad Dudes.
No, Urban Champion. I'm trying to think of like some of the NES games that would be like that, where it's like they're not great games, but it's like, well, they gotta be here, you know.
Bad Dudes would probably be on it.
Yeah, but that's Data East. I was trying to think of like Nintendo games that are like that because there's a handful of them, like Ice Claimers. I feel like maybe I don't know that game's all right.
Gyromite.
Gyromite. Clue Land, right?
Yeah.
Classic. like okay, which games were on the Animal Crossing stuff?
See, a lot of them are good. That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
They had Balloon Fight.
That's good.
I think they had they had Ice Climber, but I think they had Kid Icarus. I could be wrong.
Never gotten into that game very much, you know.
Nah, me neither. I think it's too hard. I have the 3DS version.
Mock Rider, maybe?
Clue Land. Yeah, Mock Rider. That's another one.
Maybe that's one of the stinky ones. It's like, well, I mean, I guess.
Excite Bike. You could probably.
I like Excite Bike. I
do too. It's really not that deep.
Yeah, well, it doesn't need to be deep. It just needs to be fun, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's a little too. I tried beating it. I tried beating all 5 of the levels. The 5th one is too hard.
I beat Excite Bike. I want the thumbnail.
Maybe that could be my next video title.
I beat Excite Bike.
It could be a question. Did I beat Excite Bike?
Can you beat Excite Bike?
Watch the video
without,
and find out.
Can I beat Excite Bike without the select button?
Can I beat Excite Bike while wearing an eye patch?
One of those stupid challenge videos. I feel like those challenge videos now are now they're akin to when we first started the butt mappers. It was the My Life stuff.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's what those are now.
Geeks and Gamers. Today we're going to be reviewing Resident Evil 4. It's still funny.
Yeah, it's still fun. It's still good.
Leon Kennedy is the main character in the game. He will be escorting the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, to the end of the game.
When the Ganado show up, Leon must use his arsenal of weapons to survive. Don't forget to talk to the merchant.
Can Leon defeat the infamous Lord Sadler? Well, he'll be going through a dangerous castle section and to his private island in order to find out.
You'll find out today on this episode of My Life in Spain. All right, I feel like we can probably get to the last segment. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready as I'll ever be.
All
ready
right,
as Kennedy.
Teddy, the last segment is the last segment of the show. It's a segment that happens at the very end, and after the segment is over, the show ends. Yes, the show ends. The show will be over. It'll end abruptly, and there's nothing we can do about it. Sorry. I have a timer here. The segment is called 30 Seconds to Tell, and you have 30 seconds to tell the audience where to find you or any other information you want to give them before the show ends abruptly. If you go over those 30 seconds, you will be cut off, and we're gone. Our existence in this recording is no more. Are you ready?
Let's do this.
I'm starting the timer. Okay, starting the timer now.
I'm Teddy from Majora T. I like to do a lot of content while drinking some coffee, and I like my retro video games, my classic video games, whatever games I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about them with my heart. I'm going to give you the full spiel, and if you want more of that, you can check me out on the Button Mappers with our good friend Alex and our other good friend Spencer, where we also talk all things games. We talk the shit, and we talk to you to inform you and entertain. That's what you can come to know, come to love.
You were cut.